Well, guess I won't go down there. They have some construction. They're redoing one of the walls or one of the gates to the compound. And so we have to walk down the lane, the highway. What could go wrong? Anyway, we are coming up to our National Day break here in China. It's going to be a week off. There's 7 days. The thing about living and working in China is that no holiday is a free holiday. The result is that I had to work on Sunday, and if I had classes that needed to be rearranged, it's makeup classes, then I would have to work on October 11th as well. But thankfully, luckily, I only had to make up one class, so I'm done. I am now on break until October 8th. Yay. I don't really want to walk back today. I don't want to take the bike. I'll go back and get one. Walking back to the bike, get the bike so I can be faster. All right, there we go. Test. All good. Got my sweet ride, ready to go. Not drop the camera at the same time, please. All right, and we're off with the bike to make our life a little bit easier rather than walking back and spending 40 minutes, 45 minutes of our time trying to get back to the hotel. Anyway, so some people might be thinking, how are things this semester? This is now my second semester back at university teaching again here in China, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that there are a few other people that I've known for quite a while that have also gone back to teaching. There is one guy who's going back to carpentry. Sorry, not going back to, getting into carpentry. He's going to spend like $1,000 or something on this year-long trade school, basically. I think this is very pertinent and telling. I have noticed that over my working life, that every 4 to 5 years, I spend about $1,000 to $2,000 Canadian on upskilling, on various things. I mean, this year I signed up for an AI agent class or a boot camp, so I'm learning how to program these AI agents. That's all the talk these days. Now you might say, oh, Steve, it's a scam, it's this or that. I'll tell you, these things are phenomenal. They're very helpful. And I think, most of all, they're going to change the way that we learn languages and teach them, because I think teachers are going to have their own AI agents working for them. Now, I'm not sure if it's very common for people to upskill every 4 or 5 years. It seems pretty common enough. The way that technology sort of goes, the workplace sort of goes and everything, that every 4 or 5 years, upskilling, choosing to do something new, learning something new, seems to be, I guess, par for the course. I guess some people would stay in a company or look for a company that has benefits or pays these sorts of things, where the perks of being in the job is that they'll pay for education. But typically what happens is that these companies, including my old company, all they do is they pay for the courses or the classes that are relevant to the business that they're doing. Meaning that if you want to sort of break out of the industry, get away from what you've been doing for so long, whether it's in your company or in your skill set, you basically have to pay for it on your own. Now, I have very rarely ever received funding to do any sort of upskilling or career pivoting, opting usually to just do it on my own. I think of the CELTA course, the Certificate of English Language Teaching to Adults. I did that in Montreal 10 years ago, and I paid for it on my own. And that led me to, well, come to China basically and make pretty good coin as a result. And it was a tax write-off. I didn't know that at the time, actually. So if you take the CELTA, make sure you deduct it from your taxes, because it is tax-deductible expense. I know last semester I posted on the channel a couple of videos asking people if it was all right if AI was in the classroom, but not only in the classroom, but if it was all right for me as a teacher to be using it as part of the feedback or the grading mechanism. I think it's fair to say that the overwhelming response was that, no, Steve, that's your job. And to an extent, I agree with that. However, technology has progressed to such an extent that it just seems silly not to be using these things. For example, I assign an essay in class, handwritten, no computers. Write this on your own. Get off your phones, try it on your own. And from there, I can take those responses, taking off the names and everything else, feed them into ChatGPT, and then produce almost immediately a worksheet that targets the most common errors, the systematic errors that you see. And this is very important, because systematic errors are an indication that you don't even know that the rule exists. Not only that, being able to do it fast. So no longer waiting for the copy machine to be free, or the perfect font, or the outlay, PDF or DOC. I mean, this can all be done very quickly. ChatGPT to Google Docs, download that, export that as a PDF, and send it to the students over WeChat or whatever the communication device is. I don't want to cross just yet. I want to ride on the shade. I want to ride on this side because it's in the shade under the trees. So I'm going to wait. The other place that I've noticed that AI is sort of taking over, and I really have no problem with this, is the test preparation. IELTS, TOEFL, and even general English prep. Now, general English prep is a little bit different because it might not matter what the content is. It might not matter where they get it from. They're just not willing to spend a lot of money. I understand that. I have a podcast for that as well. But test prep, I've been doing some cold outreach on TikTok, trying to get a feel for what people need to prepare for the IELTS test or to improve their English for test purposes. And as far as I can tell, there are 3 different types of test takers. The first, the one that has the test like next week or right away. The second, which has it in about a month or 6 to 8 weeks away. And then the third type that has it 3, 4, 6 months away, but they want to start preparing for it now. Now, the commonality of all these is that they are using AI to prepare for their IELTS test, whether it's Stimular or Catoven or any number of the other sort of copycats at this point. I don't think this is a bad thing. I think they should be using these AI tools and these agents to develop their English. But not only that, I've realized, I've sort of seen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the people who are trying to use this lowest cost method, the AI agents, to prepare for tests, to learn the answers, I mean, they're not going to benefit from a teacher anyway. They just want the easiest method possible so that they can memorize the answers and get through it. But the students who are using these AI tools and sort of thinking that within 3 weeks they're going to be able to use AI to memorize their answer to get the band level or score that they need, I think it's the wrong approach. I don't think they're going to succeed. Not only that, if you had them as a student, you'd probably have problems because they'd be sitting there going, well, I told you I had 4 weeks to prepare and I didn't pass. Therefore, it's your problem, your fault. Well, would you have done anything different with an AI agent? I will say that one of the good things about all these AI tools and the agents and stuff like that is that it not only helps the students, but also helps the teachers. That is, the students who are looking to prepare 3 or 4 months out, and that if you combined your experience and the technology, it's an even better and more powerful combo. And it's going to help those students who want to put in the time, who are preparing, rather than the students who, I have 3 weeks. What should I say? Sort of thing. So in some cases, it's kind of like acting as a filtering mechanism. The AI is there for those who want it and need it to sort of get by their test really quickly, but it's also there for the students and the teachers who want to spend the time preparing over the next 3, 4, 6 months and hit the higher level scores that they think that they can. Now, as I've discussed on the channel before, in regard to using AI agents and all this modern technology, would you train your own teacher? That is to say, how much time would you spend training your AI agent or your AI bot to help you learn the language? I've been following along with a few other AI podcasts. The SaaStr podcast comes to mind. And the general consensus is that these are not one and done AI agents. You have to nurture them. You have to check in on them every day. You have to tweak the program itself. I had the same issues with the Zapier agents that I was building. Every day, it wasn't working the same way. It would work some days, it would change it the next day. Every day I had to tweak the bot or the agent to do what I wanted it to do. So the idea that these AI agents are going to take over or that they're, going to take our jobs and stuff like that, nah, it's not going to happen. And part of the reason is because you have to maintain them. You have to manage them. It's like managing an employee. And so where I sort of see things going is that there are going to be teachers or schools that have these AI agents that help hyper-personalize these classes. That is, in a class like mine, where I have about 100 students over 3 sections, it's going to be that you will still have a human teacher. They may or may not be in the country, but they'll be able to ask for an assignment to be submitted online. A large language model will analyze it, not just for common errors and everything, but also telltale signs of it being a manufactured response. And this will be important, because although you can get the structure of an essay done and you can even show off with your big words, the fact of the matter is, can you explain what you're talking about? In your argumentative essay, are you actually able to defend your argument, defend the use of your words? I've talked about the use of big academic words before on the channel and said that it's great to memorize or great to use these big word books, but the reality is if you don't know what you're talking about, or if you use them maybe not just inappropriately, but out of context or without precise meaning, you're still going to cap your band level. You're still going to cap your proficiency level. But that's also where AI will excel. Because again, when the assignments are submitted online, the teacher runs a check. What are some common errors? What are some of the essays that stand out as being AI generated? Call on those students. Can you defend your argument? Can you defend the use of these words, the vocabulary that you're using? But then create hyper-personalized workbooks and worksheets tailored exactly for that student. So even if you have 100 students, it won't matter because it's going to take you seconds to generate this. And not only that, unlike a teacher standing in front of a group of 40 students who are trying not to fall asleep, instead they are all going to have personalized tuition because the teacher can create the materials on demand in class. Overall, I am not worried at all. I'm very excited to continue on with this AI bootcamp that I'm part of. Look forward to this channel because I am going to be publishing some of these AI agents and bots that I'm creating with the view not just to learn English, but also learn Chinese. What about you? What are you learning these days? Are you spending your time learning about these AI agents and all these different bots? Are you looking to pick up a trade craft? Carpentry, for example. How often have you reskilled in your career? And if you had to reskill, what would you be looking to do? Let me know, drop a comment below. Would be fascinated to find out what people are looking at, what they're studying, and what they want to know. Thanks for watching. Give this video a like. It tells the YouTube algorithm I'm doing something right. Join the mailing list, and don't forget to listen to the podcast. It's kind of fun as well. Thanks again, folks. We'll do this again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.